For decades, the world believed it knew the full story of World War II, the battles, the leaders, the victories, and the defeats. But hidden beneath the pages of history lay a secret so dark and dangerous that even the most powerful nations dared to erase it from memory. A secret involving human experiments, weaponized minds, and clandestine projects that could have altered the course of the war forever. Now, after more than 70 years, the forbidden truth of World War II is finally coming to light, and what emerges will shock the world. For decades, the world had believed that the major events of World War II were well documented. Battles had been analyzed, strategies dissected, and the fates of leaders meticulously recorded. Yet whispers persisted among historians and conspiracy theorists alike, hints of a secret so dangerous that its exposure could have changed the course of history. Few dared to investigate, and fewer still survived the attempts to reveal it. But now, after more than 70 years, the forbidden secret of World War II had finally been uncovered, and the story began to emerge in fragments from dusty archives, hidden diaries, and clandestine testimonies. It all began with Dr. Eleanor Whitman, a respected historian specializing in European conflicts. Whitman had always felt that certain anomalies in the historical record were never fully explained. Some files in the Allied archives were heavily redacted, while others seemed entirely fabricated. She had long suspected that the Allies, as well as remnants of the Axis powers, had deliberately concealed a truth far too dangerous for public knowledge. Her obsession with the inconsistencies took her from London to Berlin and eventually to a small, unassuming village in the Bavarian Alps, where the final pieces of the puzzle lay hidden. The village, known as Falkenstein, appeared ordinary to any casual observer. Yet beneath the cobblestone streets and quaint houses, an abandoned Nazi research facility remained largely untouched. Local legend claimed it was haunted, and children avoided it at all costs. What few realized was that the facility had once been the heart of a top-secret program known as Projekt Schatten or Project Shadow. Unlike the more familiar German weapons programs, which focused on rockets, jets, and tanks, Project Shadow dealt with psychological warfare, mass manipulation, and, according to Eleanor's growing evidence, something far beyond mere military applications. The first breakthrough came when Eleanor uncovered the personal journal of Dr. Karl Meinhardt, a German scientist whose name had been scrubbed from history books. His entries were cryptic but chilling. He wrote about an experiment called Der Spiegel, the mirror, which aimed to weaponize human consciousness itself. The Nazis had believed that by combining cutting-edge technology with occult rituals, they could create soldiers whose minds were unbreakable, whose loyalty was absolute, and whose capacity for destruction surpassed that of any ordinary human. At first, Eleanor thought it was the ravings of a madman, but as she cross-referenced his notes with Allied intelligence files, a horrifying pattern emerged. The Allies had intercepted some communications about Projekt Schatten, but chose to suppress the information entirely. The evidence suggested that in 1944, when the Allies were closing in on Germany, a clandestine operation had removed a group of test subjects from the facility. These individuals were not prisoners in the traditional sense. They were modified in ways that were never fully understood to serve as living weapons. After the war, they vanished without a trace. Governments never acknowledged them, and historians assumed they had perished. But Eleanor's research indicated something else. These individuals had been systematically hidden and monitored, their existence erased from official records. The implications were staggering. If Projekt Schatten had succeeded, even partially, it meant that the war had included a dimension far darker than any recorded battle, a battle of the mind where human lives had been manipulated and weaponized beyond comprehension. Eleanor's journey became more perilous as she dug deeper. She received warnings from anonymous sources, cryptic messages carved into library books, and even a shadowy figure following her through the streets of Berlin. Some of the warnings were chillingly specific: stop digging or history will bury you before the truth sees the light. She pressed on regardless, driven by the knowledge that uncovering the truth was not just a matter of academic curiosity, it was a moral imperative. Her search led her to an elderly man named Friedrich Keller, who had once worked as a janitor at the Falkenstein facility. Keller was hesitant at first, fearing repercussions even decades after the war, but he eventually relented. In a small, dimly lit room filled with the musty scent of old paper and rusted metal, Keller recounted memories that made Eleanor's skin crawl. He described corridors lined with reinforced glass, behind which men and women were subjected to strange machines that emitted vibrating frequencies, images, and lights. Some subjects seemed unresponsive, almost catatonic, while others displayed terrifying bursts of aggression or extraordinary focus. Keller had witnessed one individual stop a minor fire with a precision and calm that seemed unnatural. Another had disarmed an armed guard without hesitation. It was as if their minds were trained to operate beyond normal human limits. Eleanor documented every detail, piecing together a narrative that challenged conventional history. She learned that the Nazis had experimented not only with enhancing cognitive and physical abilities, but also with creating a psychological network where a single trained mind could influence others, subtly bending perceptions and emotions. This was the core of Der Spiegel, a plan to weaponize human thought itself. As terrifying as this was, Eleanor realized the most shocking revelation was yet to come. By comparing Keller's accounts with classified Allied documents obtained through Freedom of Informatio and requests, Eleanor discovered that the Allies had attempted a similar program in secret. Certain governments had recognized the potential of manipulating human consciousness for military and political purposes, and they had quietly recruited former Projekt Schatten scientists to continue experiments under new guises. The war had ended, but its shadows persisted, hidden in the corridors of power. The final piece of the puzzle emerged when Eleanor located a sealed crate in the mountains near Falkenstein, buried beneath a decaying stone building. Inside were records, devices, and detailed reports of human trials, complete with photographs and diagrams of machines that seemed to merge technology and psychology in ways that should not have been possible at the time. She found logs describing the integration process, where subjects were reportedly capable of influencing crowds, altering decisions, and even inducing fear or euphoria on a large scale. The ethical violations were staggering, far beyond anything she had encountered in her career. Eleanor realized the full gravity of her discovery. The forbidden secret of World War II was not just a historical footnote. It was a blueprint for controlling human behavior, a capability so dangerous that it could not be left in the wrong hands. Governments had buried the evidence to prevent panic, to maintain stability, and perhaps to continue their own clandestine programs. If this information were to become public, it could destabilize society, rewrite history, and challenge everything people believed about free will and morality. She faced a moral dilemma. Publishing the findings could illuminate the darkest corners of human history, or exposing atrocities and government cover-ups. Yet secrecy also perpetuated ignorance and allowed the potential misuse of this knowledge to continue. Eleanor chose a path of caution. She shared her findings with a small circle of trusted historians and journalists, carefully anonymizing sources and obscuring technical details that could be misused. The story she constructed was compelling, shocking, and fully documented, but it also protected humanity from repeating the mistakes of the past. The impact was immediate. Academic circles erupted in debate, with many dismissing parts of Eleanor's findings as speculative or exaggerated. Yet some documents were irrefutable, and whispers of government pressure to suppress the story began to circulate. Eleanor knew the struggle for recognition was just beginning, but she remained steadfast. History had to be told, even if it meant walking a precarious line between revelation and risk. In the years that followed, Eleanor's research inspired a new generation of historians, psychologists, and ethicists to investigate the hidden dimensions of war. Her work fueled debates about the morality of experimentation, the power of human consciousness, and the lengths governments might go to protect or exploit secrets. While the world at large remained largely unaware of Projekt Schatten, the knowledge had been preserved, studied, and cautiously integrated into discussions about ethics, history, and human potential. The forbidden secret of World War II had finally been uncovered, but it remained a secret in the sense that it could not be fully disclosed without consequences. Humanity had glimpsed the depths of its own ambition, the shadow of its curiosity, and the terrifying possibilities that lay dormant within the human mind. Eleanor Whitman had not only rewritten a chapter of history, but had also illuminated a moral crossroads, a reminder that some knowledge, though fascinating, carries a weight that must be respected. The world had survived the war, Yet the echoes of Projekt Schatten persisted, hidden in archives, in memories, and in the minds of those few who had lived through it. And perhaps somewhere in the shadows, the legacy of those experiments lingered, a silent testament to the human desire for power, control, and understanding. It was a story the world was not ready to fully confront, but thanks to Eleanor's unwavering pursuit, it could no longer be denied. As she closed the last folder and locked it in a secure vault, Eleanor felt both relief and unease. History had been preserved, the truth had been recorded, but the question remained, would humanity learn from the shadows of its past? Or would the forbidden secret one day rise again to shape the future? Only time would tell, but Eleanor knew one thing with certainty. Secrets, no matter how deeply buried, have a way of surfacing, and the past never truly stays silent. If you found this shocking story of the forbidden secrets of World War II fascinating, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another hidden truth from history. Share your thoughts in the comments below. What secret do you think the world is still hiding? Join our community and explore the untold stories that history didn't want you to know.